Musicians Institute Guitarcraft Program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.
Fox 17 Rock and Review. I'm so happy to have an incredible inventor, not only of basses and guitars, but so many other things, Ned Steinberger. And,
it's a pleasure to be here.
You know, and a lot of people, Ned, know the instruments that you invented, you know, that we grew up with. You know, with so many musicians like Joe Walsh, Eddie Van Halen, Mike Rutherford, all these people that played your instruments, you know, and still do to this day.
Well, it was an amazing time, really great opportunity for me because I'm not a musician. I ended up getting involved with musical instruments just by a chance encounter, but I was always a designer, always been a designer. I come from the furniture design field, but musical instruments are just such an exciting thing to be involved with, and even though I'm not a musician, I get to actually do something for music, so it's a real treat for me.
Now, when you were first starting out, Ned, didn't you start out, you know, helping out like Spectre? You know, when you were doing furniture.
That was my big lucky moment because I met Stuart Spector. We were working in a co-op space. He was making guitars and he was looking to get a bass design going. And I said, geez, you know, that looks like a lot of fun. Maybe I'll take a stab at it. And so Stuart said, well, okay, you know, he wasn't you know, kind of skeptical. Not a furniture designer. What are they going to do, right? But and the thing is, I knew so little about the normal standard way of doing things. I just took a fresh look, and I think that's what, you know, not being a musician, not being steeped in the tradition so much. I think that really helped me to open up my mind and think about the instrument in terms of the basic function of the elements of an instrument. And you know, the key breakthrough moment for me was when I realized that I could deal with the inherent balance problems that a bass has, because a bass, a normal bass, has a headstock at the end of the neck, and that headstock has heavy tuners on it,
huge
and
machine heads.
it pulls the neck down, a neck dive, you know, which people talk about all the time, and people live with it. They're holding the neck up all the time. But as someone coming at it from a point of view of ergonomics and the comfort and trying to understand how to make the instrument really be connected to the body and free the musician up from any other kind of pressures so that the music could be the focus, right? Instead of holding onto the bass or dealing with shoulder pain or whatever. So realizing I could take those tuning machines and put them onto the body, that was a big breakthrough in my thinking, and it's what this instrument really is, an evolution of that design.
Well, you know, I want to bring up to our viewers also, Ned, to where also, you know, you were at the forefront of using new materials in your basses and your guitars, to where nobody had really gone down that road yet, you know, and you were using composites not only for the neck but also for the bodies.
Again, you know, I was experimenting, trying out new things. I had this idea for a headless bass, and I decided to make it super light. I had some ideas about how this was going to give a great tone, but in fact, I was dead wrong. And it's through your mistakes that you really learn things the best.
Right.
And I began to realize that I needed rigidity. Rigidity was the way to get even sustain on all the notes, really get that instrument to sing out. And so I knew about carbon fiber, which in those days was really new. You didn't have carbon fiber golf clubs or anything like that. So I just thought, oh, geez, this material, I've got to check it out. And it was hard to find and very expensive back then.
Oh, yeah.
And involved new technologies that I had to learn about. But I just thought this stuff is got to be the way to go. And when I finally did get the material in and do my experiments with it, I realized that this was a great way to make an instrument.
Well, you know, I was telling you the story before we came down to the studio also, Ned, to where the first time I saw your bass guitar was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri at Schibelbein's, and they got one of the basses in, and so my friend Billy was playing the bass and then took it and beat it against a carpeted wall and said, look, it's still in tune. And it was like, and we were all in awe. And well, you said that that's what, you know, your partner was doing at the time. You would throw it on the floor.
We would go to the trade shows, and this was all new. And, you know, here we were trying to get people interested in a headless bass, which nobody had ever heard of ever. And it was made out of carbon fiber. It wasn't made out of wood. I mean, people just kind of walk by the booth and, you know, they twitter a little as they went by. But so my partner, Hap, would just start. He'd plug it into the amp so it made some noise and crash that against the floor and then pull it back up and play a chord and show that it was still in tune. And that's, you know, that's the beginning. Although the real way that we were able to get the concept across to a larger public was through artists.
Right.
And
Oh, totally.
the artist picked up on it
Playing
and
them out
played
in
it.
public,
And
like
thank
whenever-
God for MTV.
Oh my
because
gosh, yeah.
In those days, I mean, that was when video first came on. And the nice thing about our instrument is if an artist is playing it, everybody knows that it's
Right.
something different, and it's very
Well,
identifiable.
yeah, I was
So
going to
those
bring up
artists
when
really
Eddie
made
Van
it for
Halen
us.
actually put stripes and everything on his Steinberger guitar.
We put the stripes
Did
on
you
for
put that?
him. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, how incredible was that? Because you saw, Eddie with his old, Kramer and everything like that, and suddenly he's out there with a Steinberger, and it's like going, wow.
Well, it was a lot of that was about the trem, because we had developed, or I had developed a trans trem. When we first brought we first brought our guitars out, they were fixed bridge, just like the bass.
Right.
And people were digging the guitar, but really, the trem was important. Everybody wanted a trem. So I started looking at how a trem really worked, and I realized that when you bend the strings on a tremolo, they all go out of tune with each other. I said, geez, that doesn't sound right to me. It should stay in tune with itself. So it took a lot of work to figure out the mechanics of keeping all those strings in tune, and then we actually got it so you could take the lever and take the trem arm and actually transpose the instrument.
That's what I was going to bring
tune.
up, to where you were so far ahead on that, to where you could transpose what keys you were playing in with the tremolo and then set it there.
Yeah, although the main thing about the trans trem is that all, when you bend the notes, they all stay in tune, so a chord still stays intact. So I think that's really what drew Eddie into playing our guitars, and we had a really great relationship.
Well, I got to tell you, too, that, my first Steinberger I bought was the GR4 model, that had the composite neck and the wood body. And you were telling the story about Mike Rutherford when he took the guitar home, and he was playing that with Mike and the Mechanics.
Yeah, he took it home. I mean, he's obviously playing at home a lot, practicing and so on. And he had son was about 10 years old, I guess. This is a story I heard. It's hearsay. But his son looked up. He said, "Hey, Daddy, how come you're playing a toy guitar?" Because our guitars are so small. So then we got together, and we built that larger body.
Well, what's amazing to me also, Ned, is that you haven't rested on your laurels. I mean, you're like a modern-day Leo Fender with your new designs, capos, with pickups, guitars, basses, everything. But really, with NS Design, you've kind of taken things even further with the pickups and everything. And we've got, your new bass that is coming out at the Winter NAMM show, too. Well,
one of the key things about this bass is the tuning machine, which is actually a patented system whereby you can take any string and just, first of all, the ball end goes in at the head, and then you just put this other end through the tuner, and you just tune it up. It clamps itself automatically. You can change strings in an instant.
It's amazing how fast it is compared to standard strings where you've got to wind them through, clip them off. With the double ball end method, it's so much quicker.
Well, this is not double ball.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah. See, this takes any bass string.
Wow.
So this is a kind of an advancement over the original system.
Right.
And the irony is that this system came out as a result of work I was doing on violins. So they all connect together, I guess is what I'm saying. They very different, all these instruments, because we make, now at NS Design, we make violins, violas, cellos, double basses, a new omni bass, which is an upright bass with the same scale length as a bass guitar.
And possibly a new guitar in 2018.
I've got the new guitar. We've made quite a few prototypes, and I'm really excited about bringing that out.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's
well, and I was going to bring up on this too, Ned, that your design, not having the headstock, it is very balanced. When you move around, and then also you added a bevel here on the body, so it really
the back of the body is actually curved. It's thicker at the bottom than it is at the top there, so that it tilts in a little bit. So, the starting point for me is ergonomics, making it really comfortable, and then making sure that we build in the most sophisticated electronics,
and
get
you
the
always
great
have.
sound.
And so you got the EMG pickups, and then you've got your new pickup here in the bridge.
Polar pickup, yeah.
And then this is, you've got a new power system for this bass as well, right?
This particular model we're just coming out with at the NAMM show, and it uses a super capacitor for power. So this can be passive or active with this push-pull pot. But when it's in active mode, it's actually being powered by a supercapacitor, which charges in 60 seconds. So you can plug this in for 1 minute, and you get 16 hours of playtime. You never have to replace batteries. It's just a very advanced system, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more instruments like that.
I think everything you do is advanced, Ned.
Well, you know, I didn't invent this super capacitor system. It's the MySci company, but they're great people to work with, and they've really advanced the state of the art.
And so have you.
Well,
and
thank you.
I just want to mention, too, you know, if you're going to the Winter NAMM show, be sure and stop by the booth, and you can see this prototype bass and the new models and the other instruments from NS Design. Check them out at the music stores. You know, the neck, everything, the playability, the sound is just amazing, and I'm so glad there's somebody like you out in the music world creating future forward-thinking instruments, Ned.
Well, I'm so glad that musicians have taken advantage of the opportunity and supported my work over the years. I'm extremely lucky.
Well, we're lucky to have you around to invent them. Once again, Ned Steinberger, NS Design. Check out this new bass, and I can't wait for the new guitar. Thanks for watching the Fox 17 Rockin' Review.
Musicians Institute Guitarcraft program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.